All right, strap in, everyone, because today we're diving deep into some seriously thought-provoking territory.
Oh, wait.
We're tackling the teachings of G.I. Gurdjieff,
A name that still has people talking decades later.
decades after his life in the early 20th century, that is.
Exactly.
And he wasn't exactly mainstream,
That's for sure.
but Gurdjieff's ideas on self-development, well, they've had a lasting impact.
On artists, thinkers, you name it.
Anyone looking to sort of go deeper into their own potential.
Yeah, their own potential.
And what's fascinating is we're working with notes from actual meetings
Real, live meeting.
he held with students in Paris
Mm,
between 1943 and 46.
imagine that.
Imagine being a fly on the wall
Oh, I would have loved that.
in those intimate gatherings where Gurdjieff, answered questions and guided people.
On this intense path of inner transformation.
Intense is a good word for it.
It makes you realize how much we take for granted.
These notes provide us with such a rare glimpse
Yeah.
into the mind of a man who believed
To firmly believed,
that most of us are
for lack of a better term,
asleep to our true potential.
asleep at the wheel.
Okay, so how do we wake up? Because from what I'm seeing, it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Not at all.
We're about to explore some truly mind-bending concepts here.
Oh, yeah, definitely mind-bending.
Breaking free from, those ingrained emotional patterns.
Right, the stuff we don't even realize is holding us back.
The crucial role of conscious effort.
Effort, that's key.
And even this idea
Yeah.
of what he called playing a role in life while simultaneously working on inner transformation.
That's a tough one, right?
So playing a role outwardly, but transforming inwardly.
Gurdjieff didn't mess around.
He was not one to shy away from unconventional methods.
Not one bit.
So let's jump right in with one of his most fundamental principles.
Okay.
Self-observation.
Yeah, this comes up all the time.
Constantly in these meeting notes.
It's clearly important to him.
He really hammered home the need to observe yourself without judgment.
Really become aware of your automatic behaviors and reactions.
To really see yourself as you are.
It's like stepping back and witnessing your own thoughts, your emotions, your actions.
Without getting swept away by them.
Exactly, that's the key.
It's almost like having a bird's eye view of your own internal world.
I like that.
There's this incredible anecdote
Yeah.
in the December 9th, 1943 meeting
Oh, I remember this one.
where Gurdjieff talks about not recognizing one of his students.
Oh, right, Jacques Baratier.
Jacques Gurdjieff, until he saw Jacques' brother.
And then it clicked.
And he realized he hadn't truly seen Jacques as an individual.
Because he was blending him with the image of his brother.
So he was seeing him through this filter
Yeah.
of his perception of the brother.
Clouded by preconceptions.
This story highlights how often our perception is clouded.
By our own filters, our own biases.
Our own assumptions.
A good reminder to check ourselves.
Think about your own life.
Yeah.
Are there people you might not be truly seeing?
Because of our own assumptions, you mean?
Whoa, that's a powerful question.
It is, isn't it?
It makes you realize how easily we can operate on autopilot,
Just going through the motions.
reacting out of habit or getting carried away by emotions.
Without even realizing it.
And Gurdjieff believed these ingrained patterns,
Oh, he was adamant about this.
especially those formed through relationships with people.
People outside our immediate families.
He believed that those can actually enslave us.
Enslave us, that's a strong word.
He called them crystallized emotional patterns, right?
Yeah, crystallized.
That sounds intense.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
And his advice for dealing with them is even more radical.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me with it.
Decrystallize them.
Decrystallize.
He even suggests transforming love into hatred.
Hey, hold on. Transforming love into hatred.
Not externally,
Okay, good.
but internally.
As a means of breaking free from the emotional hold these patterns have on us. Okay, so transforming love into hatred.
Internally, remember?
Yeah, internally, that sounds pretty extreme.
It's a mental shift, not about acting out.
How does that actually work internally?
It's about detachment.
And are there any potential downsides to this approach?
It's important to remember context here.
Okay.
Gurdjieff wasn't advocating for acting out hatred
Right.
or behaving cruelly.
Okay, good.
What he's suggesting is an internal shift
Right.
in perspective.
Yeah.
Like we often cling to certain ways of relating to people.
Even if those ways cause us pain.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
He proposed that by consciously shifting our internal attitude.
Towards those relationships.
Even to the point of a detached hatred. We can begin to loosen their grip on us.
So it's more about detaching from the emotional charge
Right.
than actually feeling hatred.
Precisely.
Okay. Oh,
Think of it like emotional surgery.
Okay.
You're carefully
And
detaching
those habitual patterns.
to create space for something new to emerge.
Gotcha.
In the September 18th, 1943 meeting,
Okay.
there's an example of a student, Hignette,
And yet.
struggling with like this haunting image
Mm.
that's interfering with her inner work.
Okay.
Gurdjieff advises her to treat this image as a stranger
As a stranger.
and systematically dismantle the emotional charge it holds
So it's a process of separating yourself.
from the emotional baggage that's weighing you down.
But wouldn't that be suppressing emotions?
Well,
Modern psychology often emphasizes processing and understanding emotions.
not detaching from them.
Right.
That's a valid point. Gurdjieff was definitely outside the mainstream.
A bit radical.
But this core idea that we can transform our emotional patterns,
Through conscious effort.
that does resonate.
With certain aspects of modern psychology.
Like cognitive behavioral therapy
CBT.
focuses on identifying changing negative thought and behavior patterns,
Right.
which isn't that far off,
So maybe Gurdjieff was onto something.
even if his approach was a bit
Intense.
more intense.
Intense.
And that theme of conscious effort
Yeah.
is central to everything he taught.
Effort, effort, effort.
He constantly stressed that overcoming our mechanical, habitual nature
Right.
requires real,
Yeah.
sustained effort.
Not just wishing for it.
Not hoping, no.
Got to put in the work.
He uses this really vivid analogy.
Oh, yeah. I love his analogies.
In the July 22nd, 1943 meeting,
Okay.
he compares the human stomach to India rubber,
India rubber.
capable of endlessly gulping down whatever we throw at it.
I see where he's going with this.
He's talking about food.
But it feels like a metaphor for so much more.
Absolutely. He's highlighting how easily we indulge in excess,
In all areas of life.
not just with food,
But with experience.
information.
But without even realizing
It's
it.
like we're on autopilot
Gurdjieff was urging his students to cultivate a more conscious relationship.
with their bodies, their minds.
And, by extension, their entire lives.
It's like a call to action
A wake-up call.
to break free from that mindless consumption.
That dominates so much of modern life. And it's a message that feels even more relevant today.
Than it did back then.
Think about it. When was the last time you tried to break a bad habit?
Oh, that's a good one.
It takes consistent, conscious effort
You got it?
to make real change.
Real change.
Whether it's changing your diet,
Yeah.
starting an exercise routine,
Or just working on any aspect of personal growth.
it all takes effort.
Gurdjieff reminds us that transformation doesn't just happen.
You got to work for it.
It requires intention, effort, and the willingness to confront our limitations.
He definitely didn't sugarcoat things.
No, he didn't.
But there's this undeniable energy and passion in his words
Yeah, you can feel it.
that makes you lean in and really listen
He was clearly a man who was deeply committed
to waking people up.
to their full potential.
And he wasn't afraid to stir things up in the process.
Oh, he's a provocateur.
He had this interesting idea of a fourth function,
The fourth function,
along with our thoughts, emotions, and instincts.
the usual suspect.
He adds another key player to the mix.
And what is that?
The fourth function is the sexual function.
The sexual function.
Okay, I have to admit, I was not expecting that.
It throws you for a loop.
Why did he consider that so important?
Gurdjieff saw the sexual function as a powerful force
Yeah.
that often dictates our actions,
Even more than our basic needs.
like food.
Wow.
It might seem strange,
A little bit.
but he believed it has an enormous influence,
On our behavior and decision-making.
more than we realize.
So he's saying our sexual impulses are driving us more than we realize.
Exactly.
Mm,
In the July 13th, 1944 meeting,
okay.
he uses this really telling example.
Lay it on me.
One of his students, a Bolker,
Volker.
was struggling to feel remorse for his past actions.
Hmm.
Gurdjieff suggested he examine his past
Through the lens of this fourth function.
to see how his sexual impulses might have influenced his choices.
His behaviors. Wow.
It's a different way of looking at things.
That's fascinating.
It's like he's saying, don't underestimate the power of this force in your life.
It's probably impacting you in ways you haven't even considered.
It's another example of Gurdjieff challenging conventional thinking.
And diving headfirst into areas most people avoid.
He wasn't afraid of the taboo.
But isn't this getting into potentially controversial territory, especially in today's world?
Talking about sex can be a minefield,
Yeah, it can be.
but it's crucial to understand the context.
Of Gurdjieff's teachings.
He wasn't advocating for indulgence or recklessness.
Right.
He was simply acknowledging the reality of this powerful force
Within us.
and suggesting we become more conscious of its influence,
Not to suppress it.
but to understand it.
It's like that classic saying, know thyself.
Right.
Even the messy, complicated part.
Yeah, exactly. And with self-knowledge
Yeah.
comes greater freedom and choice.
Speaking of freedom and choice,
Let's explore another Gurdjieffian concept.
playing a role in life.
This one's a real head-scratcher.
This one really got my attention.
It's a practice that involves going about your daily life,
Interacting with people, fulfilling your responsibilities.
but simultaneously working on inner transformation.
So on the outside, you're going through the motions.
But internally, you're cultivating this sense of detachment.
From your reactions and actions,
It's almost like you're an actor
playing a character.
in a movie, even though it's your own life.
It's a powerful metaphor.
Gurdjieff emphasized that inner work doesn't mean withdrawing from the world.
Quite the opposite.
He saw engagement with the world as an essential part of the process,
It's about being in the world.
but not of it.
In the September 18th, 1943 meeting,
Okay.
a student, Langton,
Hi.
talks about his difficulty forming genuine relationships.
That's a common struggle.
Gurdjieff's response:
What did he say?
continue acting as he normally would
Okay.
without revealing his inner work to others.
Interesting.
Don't reveal your hand too early in the game.
That's a fascinating approach,
It reminds me of mindfulness and stoicism. Yeah, I see the connection.
where inner awareness is cultivated alongside external engagement.
It's about finding that sweet spot
Between inner transformation,
and outer participation.
Gurdjieff loved paradoxes.
He did be in the world, but not of it.
Detached, yet engaged.
He was constantly pushing his students to transcend their limitations.
And embrace a more expansive way of being.
He was definitely a demanding teacher.
Oh, yeah, but clearly a brilliant one.
Now let's shift gears and talk about the body.
The body.
Gurdjieff really emphasized the connection between the body and the mind.
He didn't see the body as something to be transcended.
Or ignored.
He saw it as a vehicle.
A vehicle for higher consciousness.
One practice he taught,
Yeah.
described in the May 25th, 1944 meeting,
Okay.
is the filling exercise.
Filling
It involves consciously directing a specific kind of energy,
through different parts of the body.
like creating an internal energy circuit.
But people had all sorts of reactions to this.
Right.
Some felt energized.
Others exhausted.
It seems pretty unpredictable.
Working with subtle energies can be like that.
Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
We'll definitely need to unpack this filling exercise more.
It seems to be central to his system.
Before we dive deeper into that,
Okay.
let's touch on another key concept:
Okay, hit me.
conscious relaxation.
Conscious relaxation.
Gurdjieff saw this as crucial for breaking free
From those automatic tensions.
and anxieties we all carry.
It's like that feeling of always being wound up,
He believed relaxation shouldn't be passive,
but a conscious act.
of releasing unnecessary tension.
In the May 25th, 1944 meeting,
Yeah.
he advises one of his students
Mm.
to systematically relax different muscle groups.
Before attempting any of the more advanced exercises.
It's like laying the groundwork.
You know, this reminds me of the power of a simple, deep breath.
Or a moment of stillness
Just those small actions.
that can bring a sense of calm and clarity.
Gurdjieff's teachings offer a more structured approach.
To accessing that calmness and making it a conscious part of our daily lives.
Well, this has already been a lot to take in.
It has. My brain is doing somersaults.
Gurdjieff's ideas are so dense,
And thought-provoking.
but I feel like we're just scratching the surface.
We are.
It's only going to get more fascinating
Oh, boy.
and challenging.
I'm ready.
Stay with us as we delve into some of his more advanced teachings
Okay.
in part 2.
And I'm strapped in and ready to go.
Buckle up.
Welcome back, everyone.
I'm still processing everything from the first part.
Me too.
Self-observation,
The fourth function.
transforming love into hatred.
My brain is doing somersaults.
It's definitely not your typical self-help advice.
No kidding.
Gurdjieff's system is so unique.
It really is.
It's a blend of ancient wisdom.
And modern insights.
It requires us to think outside the box.
Speaking of thinking outside the box,
What's that?
let's talk about this web of mutual support idea
Oh, yeah.
that Gurdjieff kept mentioning.
He was big on that.
He believed that true transformation isn't a solo mission.
It takes a village.
He saw a real need for a brotherhood, a community where people could support each other
On the path.
toward a common goal.
We're not meant to do it alone.
In the May 25th, 1944 meeting,
Okay.
he actually leads his students through an exercise
Exercise.
where they visualize a web connecting them, allowing for this transmission of positive energy
Positive energy.
and shared aspiration.
It's a beautiful image.
It really is.
This interconnectedness.
This feeling of collective purpose
Like everyone's energy
is feeding into a greater whole.
makes you feel less alone.
It does, and it makes me think about the benefits of group support in general.
In general, yeah.
And whether it's a support group,
Yeah.
a spiritual community,
Or even just a close circle of friends.
having people who understand
And encourage you.
on your journey can be so valuable.
It's like having a team
We're a corner.
cheering you on.
Absolutely.
There's a synergy
When people come together,
with a shared intention.
it amplifies the individual effort.
It creates momentum.
From a psychological perspective,
Yeah.
what are some of the benefits of group support?
Especially when dealing with something as challenging as self-transformation.
I'm curious.
Well, for one thing,
Yeah.
it can provide a sense of belonging
A longing.
and validation.
Validation. We all need that.
When you're surrounded by others
Yeah.
who are also trying to grow and evolve,
To become better versions of themselves.
it can help you feel less alone.
Less alone in your struggles.
You realize you're not the only one.
Facing these challenges.
Everyone's fighting their own battles.
That's like, okay, I'm not crazy.
Other people feel this way too.
Exactly.
That shared experience can be incredibly empowering.
Empowering, yeah.
Group support also provides accountability
Accountability.
and motivation
Motivation. I need more of that.
when you know that others are relying on you
That they're counting on you.
to show up and do the work,
It can help you stay committed.
even when it gets tough.
It's like having a built-in support system.
A safety net.
You're not just letting yourself down if you give up.
You're letting down the whole team
And a team of coaches.
that were also in the game with you.
It's like those old workout videos
Oh, I remember those.
from the 80s,
Leg warmers and all.
where everyone's sweating and encouraging each other.
Right.
Except this is for inner growth.
Not leg warmers.
Collective effort, shared goals, pushing each other to reach new heights.
That was all there.
It seems like Gurdjieff really understood how to cultivate that kind of dynamic in his groups,
He was a master at it,
fostering a sense of community and shared purpose.
while also challenging his students to push their boundaries.
He was a master of paradox.
That's for sure.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit
All right.
and talk about something that really struck me in these notes.
Okay.
Gurdjieff's idea of automatic factors of recall.
Automatic factors of recall.
Remember how we talked about how much of our lives we spend on autopilot
Just reacting habitually?
without really thinking?
Like those crystallized patterns. The
Exactly.
ones that keep us stuck.
Gurdjieff proposed a technique
Yeah.
for disrupting those patterns
Okay.
and increasing self-awareness.
I like it already.
He called them automatic factors of recall.
What are those exactly?
It's like hacking your own autopilot system.
Interesting.
He suggested consciously changing small habitual actions in our daily lives
Oh, okay.
could bring us back to the present moment.
Little jolts of awareness.
Jolts, I like that.
It's like creating a conscious interruption.
In our usual flow of thoughts and actions.
A reminder to wake up and pay attention.
Give me a concrete example.
In the December 9th, 1946 meeting,
Okay.
he asks his students,
Yeah.
how do you sit down at the table?
Have you ever noticed which foot you put down first?
Then he suggests becoming aware of these automatic actions,
And deliberately changing them.
like choosing to sit down with your left foot instead of your right.
So it's about using those mindless habits
As triggers,
for mindful awareness.
you got it.
It's making the unconscious conscious.
It seems so simple.
But I can see how those little shifts in behavior
Yeah.
could make you more aware overall,
It's like training your brain,
to pay attention to the little things,
which can then spill over into the bigger things. It's using the familiar,
to cultivate the unfamiliar,
the
to
habitual.
cultivate the conscious. Remember how I was going to try that sock thing?
Oh yeah, the socks.
I have to admit, it's harder than I thought.
Right.
I keep forgetting to switch the order.
That's okay. It takes practice.
But when I do remember, it's
Yeah.
like this little aha moment.
A little jolt.
Like, oh, right, I'm doing this on purpose.
That's the point.
It's about disrupting those automatic patterns
Bringing a bit more consciousness.
into even the most mundane activities.
It's making the ordinary extraordinary.
It's making me realize how much I'm on autopilot throughout the day.
We all are, to
Yeah.
some extent.
And that awareness,
Is the first step to real freedom.
once you see the pattern.
You have the power to change it. Okay.
So we've talked about group support. and automatic factors of recall.
Recall.
But we still need to unpack that filling exercise.
The filling exercise.
Because it seems pretty central.
To Gurdjieff's system.
Remember in the last part?
People had very different experiences with it.
Some felt fatigue.
While others felt this heightened awareness.
Sensations.
Working with subtle energies.
It can be unpredictable.
Unpredictable, definitely. And in the December 9th, 1946 meeting,
Okay.
Gurdjieff goes into even more detail.
About the filling exercise.
Describing specific pathways for this energy to flow through.
Pathways.
He even talks about stations, hands, and forks along these pathways.
Forks like in a road?
Almost like an energetic map of the human body.
Wait, stations and forks?
Sounds complex, right?
So it's not just some vague energy.
Flowing randomly.
There's a specific method to it.
He's very precise about how to direct this energy.
Which areas to avoid.
And where to focus.
It's not a practice to be taken lightly.
Not at all.
He even mentions the Kundalini in this meeting.
The Kundalini.
That potent energy that lies dormant at the base of the spine.
In many spiritual traditions.
It's starting to sound like we're getting into some pretty advanced territory here.
We are. It highlights the importance of having a qualified teacher.
If you're going to experiment with these kinds of practices.
Someone who knows the terrain.
Okay, so we've got the filling exercise. These energy pathways. The need for guidance from a teacher.
The teacher, yes.
But what's the ultimate goal?
The goal.
What are we trying to achieve with this practice?
Gurdjieff believed that by consciously working with these energies, we can awaken higher centers of consciousness.
Higher centers of consciousness.
And achieve a more integrated state of being.
It's like intentionally directing energy.
To wake up dormant parts of yourself.
So it's not just about feeling good.
Or getting a boost of energy.
It's about a fundamental transformation.
Of who we are.
It's about becoming more whole.
More aware.
More connected.
He saw it as a path to realizing our full potential.
Not just as individuals.
But as part of something much larger.
This all sounds so complex.
And layered.
I'm still struggling to grasp the whole picture.
That's okay. It takes time.
Gurdjieff's work is meant to be explored and pondered.
Over time, yeah.
What's important is that we engage with these ideas.
We challenge ourselves.
And see how they resonate within our own lives.
Exactly.
Even if we don't fully understand all the intricacies.
The details.
I think there are valuable lessons we can take away.
From his teachings.
The importance of self-observation.
Self-observation.
The power of conscious effort. The support we find in community. These are all timeless principles.
That can guide us on our own journeys.
And let's not forget those automatic factors of recall.
The little things.
Those simple yet powerful tools.
For breaking free from autopilot.
And bringing more awareness into our daily lives.
Making each day a little more mindful.
Speaking of which, how's your doorway ritual working?
The doorway ritual?
Yeah. The pause and the breath.
Oh, it's been surprisingly effective.
Really?
That brief pause.
Yeah.
That conscious breath.
It's like a reset button.
For my mind.
It helps you transition between spaces.
And approach each moment with a bit more intention.
I love that.
It reminds me of something Gurdjieff said.
What's that?
If you want to change your life.
Change something you do every day.
So simple, yet so profound.
It reminds us that transformation doesn't have to be this grand,
overwhelming undertaking.
It can start with the smallest of actions.
Those little shifts in awareness.
That over time
can lead to profound change.
Well, this has been an incredible journey.
It has.
Even if a bit mind-bending at times.
Gurdjieff will do that to you.
I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective.
A new perspective.
On what it means to truly wake up.
To see the world with fresh eyes.
Me too.
Gurdjieff's teachings challenge us.
To question everything.
To push beyond our perceived limitations.
To embrace the unknown.
And who knows?
Maybe that's where the real magic lies.
Maybe so.
Welcome back to the show, everyone.
It's the final part of our deep dive.
Into Gurdjieff's teachings.
Quite a journey it's been.
It really has. We've covered so much ground, self-observation.
These crystallized patterns.
The fourth function, playing a role in life.
I knew it.
Dipping our toes into the world of subtle energies with that filling exercise.
A filling exercise.
I feel like I've been through a mental obstacle course.
Gurdjieff's work is definitely not for the faint of heart. But even if we don't grasp every single detail,
the core message shines through.
We have the potential to wake up.
And live more consciously.
That's the key.
Absolutely. Yeah. Before we wrap things up,
I
want to circle back to that filling exercise.
The filling exercise, right.
Because it feels like a key piece of the puzzle.
Central to his system.
In part 2, you mentioned Gurdjieff going into even more detail about this exercise.
Talking about specific pathways for energy to flow through.
Specific pathways?
Even stations and forks within the body.
Like an energetic map of sorts.
Almost like he's mapping out an unseen anatomy. An energetic blueprint, you know.
Unique to each person.
He's very specific.
About how to direct this energy.
Which areas to avoid, where to focus your attention.
It doesn't sound like something to just try on your own.
Definitely not. That's why he stressed the importance of a qualified teacher.
Someone who understands these subtle energies.
Someone to guide you safely.
Right. You also mentioned the Kundalini.
The Kundalini. That potent energy coiled at the base of the spine.
It feels like we're moving into some pretty deep waters here.
Deep spiritual waters.
Gurdjieff's system draws from various traditions.
But he presents them in a very practical way.
Almost scientific.
Okay.
So we've got this filling exercise.
The exercise.
These intricate energy pathways.
Pathways, yeah.
The need for a teacher.
A guide.
But what's the point of it all?
What's the goal?
What are we trying to achieve with this practice?
Well, Gurdjieff believed that by consciously working with these energies, we can awaken higher centers of consciousness.
Higher centers?
Leading to a more integrated state of being.
So it's not just about feeling good.
Or having a mystical experience.
It's about a fundamental shift.
In how we experience ourselves and the world.
Becoming more whole.
More awake.
More connected.
He saw it as a path to realizing our full potential.
Not just as individuals.
But as part of something much larger.
This all sounds so complex and layered.
It is, but don't worry if you don't grasp every detail.
I'm still struggling to grasp the whole picture.
That's okay. Gurdjieff's work is meant to be explored.
Pondered over time.
Exactly.
What's important is that we engage with these ideas.
Challenge ourselves.
See how they resonate in our own lives.
Even if we don't understand all the intricacies.
The details.
There are valuable lessons we can take away.
Like the importance of self-observation.
The power of conscious effort.
The support we find in community.
These are timeless principles.
That can guide us on our own journeys.
In those automatic factors of recall.
Well, simple things.
Those little tools for breaking free from autopilot.
And bringing more awareness into our daily lives.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, how's that doorway ritual working for you?
It's surprisingly effective.
That brief pause.
The conscious breath. It's like a reset button for my mind.
Helps you transition between spaces.
Approach each moment with more intention.
It's the little things.
That reminds me of something Gurdjieff said.
What's that?
If you want to change your life, change something you do every day.
Simple but profound.
Transformation doesn't have to be this grand, overwhelming thing.
It can start small.
Those little shifts in awareness, over time,
lead to profound change.
This has been an incredible journey.
It has.
Mind-bending at times.
But I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective.
On what it means to truly wake up.
Gurdjieff's teachings challenge us.
To question everything.
Push beyond our limits.
Embrace the unknown.
Maybe that's where the real magic lies.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Into the world of G.I. Gurdjieff.
If you found these ideas intriguing, we encourage you to explore his work.
There's so much to discover.
And who knows?
It might just change your life.
Until next time, keep questioning.
Keep exploring.
And most importantly,
keep waking up.